With the return of Patrick Stewart, who we're all very convinced is going to be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, either playing his Fox X-Men character role of Professor X or a new variant version of Professor X, a lot of you guys are wondering, well, does that mean we will also be getting Hugh Jackman's Wolverine? Again, either the X-Men version from the Fox universe or a new variant of Wolverine. Because as exciting as it is to have Patrick Stewart return to play this character, we need the whole package, which is at minimum Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Patrick Stewart's Professor X. The entirety of the Fox universe will not be making a transition to the MCU. I don't even believe that Patrick Stewart or Hugh Jackman would be making this same transition. But we're going to talk about the latest news we have from a very reliable source over from the Illuminerdi. Again, a big website with a lot of inside scoops and insider connections with big, huge franchises and companies like Marvel and Disney. So stick around so you can hear the Wolverine news for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk about all major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and much, much more. Obviously, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is generating the most hype right now. I know so many of you guys, including myself, are extremely excited for this film to finally release. But don't forget, a ton of crazy stuff is coming out this year. The Batman, The Flash, Thor, Love and Thunder, Stranger Things, and many, many other amazing projects. So don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on our daily updates. So clearly, the biggest and most exciting version of Wolverine that we could see would be Hugh Jackman's, whether he's here to stay in the MCU or not, which we'll get to in just a second. However, coming from Joseph Declemeyer, who is in charge of the Illuminerdi website, a massive website with a ton of insiders, he said this on Twitter. We will see Wolverine in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but it definitely won't be Hugh Jackman. So clearly he's had some type of insider knowledge on this one, whether somebody works at the studio, somebody who works closely with Hugh Jackman. He is very sure here that 1, we will be seeing Wolverine, and 2, it won't be Hugh Jackman. I do have a few thoughts on this matter. 1, I'm excited that we will be seeing Wolverine. 2, I would definitely love to see Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, especially if we're getting Patrick Stewart playing Professor X in return. Now, I do not believe, and I mentioned this already, we will be seeing the entirety of the Fox X-Men converging and mixing with the MCU. I don't believe we'd be seeing Patrick Stewart or Hugh Jackman or any of those characters actually making their way over to the Sacred Timeline. We will be seeing all of these characters, whether they're from the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, or which other universe, in Doctor Strange as multiversal characters who are making cameo appearances or sideline appearances in this movie. But I do not believe at any point they're going to say, all right, Patrick Stewart, your X-Men, your Professor X is now going to be part of the MCU. Same goes for Hugh Jackman or any of these Fox characters. So I think that can be very well established. I don't know exactly what we can expect to see from Professor X, if he'll just return to his universe and everything will go all good okay, or if he's actually going to end up getting killed by the Scarlet Witch, which would be very confusing. Unless, of course, he does play a variant version of this Professor X. Which is where this new Wolverine comes from. Just because this variant version of Professor X is played by Patrick Stewart, a familiar face, that doesn't mean that any other character has to be or will be, which is where we could believe what we're reading in this tweet and say, you know what, yeah, Wolverine will be in it and it's going to be a different Wolverine. The use of a different Wolverine does allow for the possibility for him to be carried over and used again in the multiverse, or as a MCU Sacred Timeline Wolverine. But again, I just don't think that's how Marvel's trying to do this. I think they're trying to navigate the multiverse with very, very high caution. They don't want to use the multiverse as an excuse to introduce new characters. They want to use it as a concept that it will allow us to see the MCU in a different plane, in a more 3D dimensional type of mindset. And they're going to introduce these characters that we're familiar to get us excited and generate that hype for the multiverse. However, they want to do their own Professor X, they want to do their own Wolverine in the MCU. Now, the way we're going to get the mutants into Marvel's main timeline, well, that's an entire different topic, which will require a lot of thinking and waiting until we do see mutants and eventually the X-Men in the Sacred Timeline. But Just because Wolverine shows up, or Patrick Stewart, or any character, other than maybe Deadpool, it doesn't mean we're going to be seeing them continued in the MCU. Perfect example of this is all the rumors that we might be seeing John Krasinski playing Mr. Fantastic. But the rumors and the plot leaks also came along with the warning that he will not, however, be the main MCU timeline's Mr. Fantastic. He will be making an appearance and being useful, whether he's on the Illuminati or he's a different type of character that we're going to run into while Wanda and Doctor Strange are traveling the multiverse, but he is not going to make that transition into the MCU. So we'll see him, we'll get that satisfaction, but that's the end of it. They have different plans for who they want to play the Fantastic Four as the actual Marvel main timeline family and characters for that area. That is exactly going to be the same case with the X-Men. Now, it is possible, and this is purely speculation at this point, that Hugh Jackman could still be involved, and that whatever we're hearing here is just about a specific Wolverine. It's possible in the Multiverse of Madness that there could be, dare I say it, 2 Wolverines from 2 different multiverses, and maybe they'll even fight and not like each other, and one of them could be Hugh Jackman. But based off of the surety that we're hearing from a pretty reliable source who definitely has some insider knowledge and some connections, it sounds like we should not be expecting Hugh Jackman. Maybe, for whatever reason, even though they got Patrick Stewart back, Hugh Jackman wasn't ready to budge. This is what he told us over a year ago when he was asked about whether or not he was going to return for the MCU. Hugh Jackman said, "I'm hearing about this from all of you, and there's nothing in my inbox from Kevin Feige, which means it's probably, no matter what idea I come up with, not on the table." Let's just be clear that, but now I realize before we shot Logan, I was like, we got the idea. We knew what it was going to be-ish, right? And I thought this is it. And that really helped me. It really helped me knowing I was going to do my last season. That it was my last season, then I made the most of it. And it's still a character I hold close to my heart, but I know it is done. Tell that to whoever you want to, but please tell it to Ryan Reynolds because he doesn't believe anything. He thinks I'm joking, please. So a very sure no, it's not going to happen. For starters, it was, I haven't heard anything from Kevin Feige, which we know has changed since he mentioned that. But then he goes on to say, we've done Logan, and that was my last season, or my last role for the character, and I put him to bed and I hold it close to my heart. He then jokingly finishes off by saying, yeah, tell that to Ryan Reynolds, one of his best friends, and foe in the comics, Deadpool, who is definitely nagging him and trying to get him to return so that they can have their epic showdown moment. But Hugh Jackman seemed rather sure that he was done. The only thing I can say on that is Patrick Stewart said pretty much the exact same thing, that he had put the character to bed, that he and Hugh Jackman had both cried and completed their roles and finished the character, that it was a special role and they didn't want to continue on. They both, even on separate occasions, said that had they not done Logan, maybe they would have been open to playing something in the MCU. However, like I said, Patrick Stewart's here. We've seen him. We're all very convinced that it is him, even though he continues to deny it up to this point. But anything is possible, including 2 Wolverines, one played by Hugh Jackman, one played by somebody else, and the official introduction of a new Wolverine who we know won't be Hugh Jackman in the MCU eventually, and probably not in Multiverse of Madness. So whichever Wolverine we see will not be here to stay, and I for one definitely do hope that it is Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Just to get one more look at the original superhero for me, I remember watching the first X-Men movie and absolutely fanboying over Wolverine, so I do hope to get that opportunity. With all of that said, what do you think? Do you think we will be seeing Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? Or do you think Hugh Jackman's actually finished and hung up his metaphorical claws? Thank you guys so much for watching till the very end of the video. If you found it helpful, useful, or entertaining, consider subscribing and turning on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our daily uploads happening right here on Cosmic Culture.